class action lawsuit has been launched against several of Canada's major grocers. It alleges that they misled customers with made in Canada labels or other similar patriotic branding when in fact many such products originate elsewhere. As concerns grow over transparency and truth in advertising, the lawsuit is seeking to both halt the practice and secure compensation for those who feel deceived. Let's head over to Joey Zukran, class action attorney with LPC Avocats. Joey, welcome back to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So listen, I'm sure that on a label, like if you buy a product and on the label it says "Made in Canada," there's some legal things, right? You can't just do that. Yeah, you can't just put "Made in Canada" on any product, right? I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, what's going on in these grocery stores that we investigated is actually insane. It amounts to pure false representations, and I'll go further and say fraud in the civil sense. Our client a couple of weeks ago went to a Provigo, which is owned by Loblaws, and he purchased these Nature Valley granola bars that he's always purchased throughout his life. And on the shelf and on the label, it's indicated product of Canada, made in Canada, the red maple leaf. And, you feel like you're supporting a Canadian company and the Canadian economy, especially in this, tariff situation where the Canadian social consciousness is probably more sensitive and more aware of the, the duty, let's call it, to support our local businesses. And then he gets into his car and he realizes that the box says, he notices that the box says made in USA. And then he looks at another item that he purchased, coconut milk, that says made in Thailand. So he goes back into the Provigo, says, wait a minute, both the granola bars, Nature Valley, and this coconut milk are on the shelves where the red flags and the made in Canada are prominently displayed by Loblaws or Provigo, but they're not made in Canada. And so what we did was, before jumping the gun and suing, we hired bailiffs who pretty much went across Quebec and made reports, or constat in French, but reports of what they discovered. And it turns out that there is a menu of items. It's a systemic problem across the board. Maxi, if I'm not mistaken, or Super C, one of the two, go as far as to have a sign in their stores that say, we are not responsible. We are in the process of still trying to figure out where our stuff originates from, and we are therefore not responsible if we're wrong on the origin, which is useless and worth nothing in law. You cannot exonerate yourself from your own mistake or negligence.
Uh-huh.
And so we decided to file the action. I mean, what's more egregious is if you look at the IGAs and the Loblaws, again, they're home, and Walmart as well, they're home brands. So Walmart's Great Value or IGAs are Compliments or Loblaws President Choice. They do this on their home brand also. So you'll see something that's made by Walmart or made by Loblaws and says made in Canada, but the package will say imported from China or Thailand or Guatemala or Germany for chocolates we've seen. So on those, there's no defense. They know, like it's intentional, right? So I go as far as to say there's no defense on any of these items because the grocer who's selling and advertising these items could simply look at the labeling or the weigh bills that they at the time of their purchase to know where these items originate from. So it's actually shocking, unacceptable, and that's why we filed this action.
And of course, so what we're talking about here, the products themselves have the correct information. But what they do is they frame it in the stores, on the shelves, in the aisles. They put like Canadian branding to basically fool you. As you remove that product from the shelf, you're not looking at the actual label on the product because in your mind has been sort of maple washed by all the red maple leaves and the Canadian flags you see around the product.
Exactly, but I wouldn't go as far as to concede what's in the package is also correct. One of the class members sent me a picture on Friday from the Walmart in Place Vertu in Ville Saint-Laurent, and if anyone listening wants to do the exercise today, they could. You'll see that the tomatoes, the cherry tomatoes are in packages that say the bin says made in Canada, and then there's a few packages and it's the exact same SKU. A few packages say made in Canada and organic, made in Canada, but the other packages right next, like in the same bin, say product of Mexico. the exact same SKU, the exact same barcode, the exact same packaging, the exact same tomatoes.
Wow.
So
Okay.
so I'm wondering if they're, one can wonder, are these really Canadian organic tomatoes, or are they Mexican tomatoes imported? Walmart will obviously have to answer to that, but and we welcome anyone who's doing who's in grocery stores to send us these pictures, because obviously at some point these stores are going to remove all the items and try to fix it. We worked on this file with the law firm Reno Vathalakis, so you can email myself or Michael Vathalakis, and we'll be happy to put together whatever evidence you send us to make this case stronger.
Do you have any sense as to, I'm imagining in my head, right? Obviously, there was the trade war with the U.S. and Donald Trump in 51st state. Everyone says, that's it. We're not going to buy U.S. products. We want to buy Canada. This is all a result of that, right? So are you alleging that as well in this lawsuit, that this was a way of deceiving consumers faced with declining sales?
So the evidence that we found so far, this actually goes back to January 2025 and potentially before. Mm-hmm. And if you remember when our friend Donald Trump put up that big sign with the tariffs, that was April. So this maple washing situation could obviously have been amplified, by the patriotic sense that people have now when they shop when the tariff war really got heated on. But I'm not convinced that it happened before. I think this was or that was limited. I think this was something that could have started before, and just we started noticing it more when people wanted to start purchasing local to support the businesses. But it doesn't mean that they weren't doing it before.
With class action attorney Joey Zukran, have the grocers responded at all? Do they have any type of defense so far?
Not yet. So this case was filed in court, Superior Court of Montreal, about a week or 10 days ago. So they still have some time to file appearances, and usually they always have some interesting arguments. So we look forward to hearing them.
Joey, over the years, I don't know how many class action lawsuits we've discussed on air, and I know at one point we've discussed, why you do any of this. I think we have a good example of that as we wrap up here today. Last week, we got the news of the bread price-fixing class action lawsuit, and we're all told, hey, go to the website, sign up. The money is going to be coming. So I guess that's why you do it, right? We have an example last week of where Canadians are going to get some resolution.
Absolutely. So we do it for two reasons. The first one is, to get a behavior modification, to put an end to a practice that is presumably illegal. And the second, and another main reason, is to get money into the public's hands. So thank you for bringing up the bread case. That was settled a couple of months ago for $500 million across Canada. It's the largest antitrust class action settlement in Canadian history, of which 22% of the settlement funds, so $110 million, are allocated to Quebec. And now's the time, until December 12th, for anyone in Quebec to be able to sign up and claim their share of the settlement funds. There's no proof of purchase required, so it's literally money just waiting to be claimed, assuming you meet the eligibility criteria, which is anyone who purchased bread during the period, a 20-year period from 2000 to 2021. And the way to do that is to go to the settlement website, which is www.quebecbreadsettlement.ca.
Gotcha. Now, Joey, everyone bought bread over the last 20 years. Is there a possibility, everyone claims this and there's no, at the end of the day, everyone gets a check for 2 cents?
Look, unlikely. We provided some scenarios to the judge in which the funds can vary, anywhere from, if you have 300,000 people claiming, up until 2.5 million. Even then, there'll be real, when I say real, I mean a non-negligible. We're not talking 2 cents or $2. We're talking about a non-negligible amount. I would highly doubt that the entire province of 8 or 9 million will claim.
Gotcha.
Of course, you have to be an adult, and but we're encouraging claims, because that's our way to put money into people's hands. And we estimate that the amounts could be, ranging anywhere from, don't quote me on a number, but it could be anywhere from $10 to $100, depending on the actual take-up. Yeah.
Okay, Joey, listen, great talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Joey Zukran, class action attorney with LPC Avocats.